Advertiser in Nigeria, that is, if you're trying to advertise your goods or services, then you need to know about APCON. APCON is the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria. What exactly does APCON do? Among other things, it prides itself on being able to check all forms of abuses, misleading statements, spurious testimonials, visual and verbal exaggerations, misleading offers, suggestions, and or pictures that are offensive to public decency. All this it achieves by insisting on pre-exposure clearance of all advertisements. Hello and welcome. This is 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajetumobi. Thank you for joining me on the program today. Now, the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria developed a code of practice for the advertising industry and for advertising practitioners. Who is an advertising practitioner? And did you know that registration with the Corporate Affairs Commission is not enough to legalize an advert agency until such an agency is registered with APCON? So many questions, and I'm seeking all the answers. Join me after the break as I count down 60 minutes with the chairman of the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria and also the Group Chief Executive of Primer Garnet Limited, Lolu Akinwunmi. Welcome back. Welcome, Mr. Akinwunmi. Thank you very much for coming on 60 Minutes.
Thank you very much.
Now, APCON, regulating advertising practice in Nigeria in all its aspects and ramifications. Why was there a need to do that?
The government did that in 1988 through Decree 55 of 1988, and the decree is expected to do all of those objectives that you have stated.
Yes.
And government setting out to do that then and now is quite understandable in the sense that the organs of mass communication are very powerful: radio, TV, outdoor, these days, internet and the rest of them.
Yes.
If government does not regulate the kind of information that goes out, especially on product and services advertising, it's easy for someone to come up and say a drink that's supposed to help stomach ache will also cure leprosy and all that. Yeah. So government owes it a duty to its people to ensure that what goes out is real, it's true, it meets all of the objectives of government overall communication policy.
I listed them: spurious statements, testimonials, visual, verbal exaggerations. How does APCON regulate? How do you police these things?
It starts from a very simple process. Number one, every single ad that's supposed to be exposed in this country, and in these days outside of this country because of stations like DSTV and Co.
Yes.
First must be submitted in their original forms to APCON. The scripts, the copy, the synopsis. APCON has another group within it called the Advertising Standard Panel, made up of about 22 or 23 qualified Nigerians who will go through, match what you're saying against what the rules say that you should say or not say, and they give approval. And then when your TV materials are ready, sometimes you are asked to represent them to be sure that what you have shot is not different from the approval. Absolutely, yeah. So it's basically in that form, radio scripts, print materials, and the rest of them. Sometimes also, if what you are offering involves sales promotion, APCON may want to see the list of items that you are, offering. Are they there? A couple of things can be queried, because a couple of years back, a drinks company offered cars, and in our interaction with NAFDAC, we found out that some of the claims were not only spurious, it had an after effect of promoting overconsumption of sugar drinks, leading to early cases of diabetes and all of this. So APCON is also involved in ensuring things like this don't happen.
Okay, so what would lead APCON to withhold approval from a prospective advertiser?
Again, it's at two levels. One, if you are making your first presentation, if you don't meet all of the expectations, no approval will be given. Two, if after approval has been given, if you go ahead and the final material is different from what APCON approved in the preliminary form, the approval will be withdrawn. And in very rare cases, APCON has had to withdraw approvals because of certain violations. For example, if you belong to a drinks industry and you are not supposed to expose your drinks within certain periods because children are not supposed to see them, if you go ahead and do that, and if APCON warns you and you don't conform, then all of the approvals for those materials most likely will be withdrawn.
Okay. That example you've given now, you've warned, let's talk about alcoholic drinks, for instance. Isn't it up to the television station, the publisher of such an advert, to be aware of this regulation and make sure that it doesn't publish the advert?
Unfortunately, in the real world, it doesn't always work that way. In fairness to them, many of the media houses support APCON and they encourage compliance, but some of them don't, perhaps for commercial reasons. And so sometimes APCON also needs to warn them, because all of the people who have responsibility for advertising and marketing in media houses can also be regulated by APCON itself. They're supposed to be members of APCON.
Okay, so can you impose penalties?
Oh, clearly we can. We, at the very least, will invite you to come and face the investigative committee, and if you are found to be liable, APCON has had to sanction people, people have had to pay fines and all that. The process is quite well spelled out in the law setting up APCON.
What's the essential difference between the Association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria and APCON? That's AAAN and APCON.
The AAAN is just a free will association of practitioners, and as of today, it registers advertising agencies, not individuals. You can practice advertising in Nigeria without necessarily, well, in the past you could, and I believe you still can, without necessarily being part of AAAN. But for you to practice advertising in Nigeria, you need to be registered with and by APCON.
Would you not register an agency for any reason? Would APCON refuse to register an agency? Because I've heard some agencies complain that it's like double jeopardy. They're registered under the Corporate Affairs Commission, and yet they're subject to another form of registration which can be denied them.
Well, I think for most of those who say that, it's either they don't understand the way government works, or they're just being mischievous, if you ask me. If you register, if you you can go and set up an airline with the Corporate Affairs Commission, whatever airlines. Does it mean you simply put an airplane in the skies? No. You can register an oil company. Does it mean you just go and start drilling? The job that CAC does is different. APCON is supposed to regulate your practice after CAC. Anybody can register a hospital, but does it mean you start treating patients? You need to be registered with the Nigerian Medical Council. If you can register a law firm, but you still must go through the Nigerian Legal Council. So those who say that really don't understand the way government agencies work. You must come to APCON because someone must regulate the way you practice after the CAC has in actual fact, today, the CAC will not register you except APCON approves that you meet all of the criteria for operating an advertising agency in Nigeria. The CAC won't register you.
Has that seen a drop in the number of advertising agencies being registered now? The number of advertising agencies operating in Nigeria?
Because this is a new regime that's taken off from 1st of January this year, it's really hard to say. But I don't think it should stop anyone because the APCON requirements are straightforward. All the CAC is saying is, let us get a go-ahead from APCON that you are even certified to practice advertising in Nigeria, and then we'll register your company. It's one of the ways of ensuring that we don't have frivolous practitioners in the country.
Okay, now, the Time magazine's projection of advertising as the 5th of the 10 most important professions of the last century, ahead of law and medicine. How is APCON feeding on that to improve on that sector?
The government expectations of APCON are many. And most people think all we do is just vet art. APCON also approves the syllabus for advertising and communication across the country.
In universities?
And higher institutions like where they have HND. APCON also vets the various mass comm and advertising departments pretty much the same way the Nigerian Medical Council vets, and all that. So the job that APCON does, including training, so many things, and one of the reasons why we've had to amend the 4th code to produce the 5th code, one of the reasons was to, if you like, bring APCON up to modern expectations, to current expectations. The code was amended a couple of years back. Since then, you've had all kinds of things which produce the information you've just given us. So APCON sat down and we said, what can we do to take advantage of this critical part of the economy? And then we sat together, drew up a list of 13 objectives, worked on them with all of the stakeholders for about 2 years and produced the new code.
And everyone is adhering to that code?
You really don't have a choice at the end of the day because it is the law and it's not a new code. It's the 5th amendment, which means when APCON was set up, there was the 1st code, the 2nd code, the 3rd amendment, the 4th, and this is the 5th amendment. If you want to practice in Nigeria, you have to adhere. Otherwise, you'll be practicing illegally, and there are fines and even possible imprisonment.
Really?
Yeah. It's a federal agency set up by decree and then revalidated by act of the parliament.
So if you wake up tomorrow, set up an advertising agency, you don't have APCON approval.
It is an infringement. It is illegal.
Okay, let's look at the general duties now of APCON. Who then can we say is an advertising practitioner?
Well, if I want to go strictly, there are 2 or 3 ways you can look at that. If you want to go by regulation, the advertising practitioner must be one who has met all of the conditions of being registrable by APCON. If you want to look from the purely professional angle,
Yes.
you can say an advertising practitioner is one who is involved in ABC, XYZ trades
Yes.
that make up all of the components of advertising practice and all that. So it really depends. It's a combination of so many things. If I work in an agency and day to day my job involves producing adverts and all, that makes me a practitioner. On the other hand, APCON can say you are not a practitioner because you are not properly registered. So
With them.
yes, it's got to be a combination of everything.
This is really interesting. Now, APCON also determines the standard of knowledge and skills required to be registered as a practitioner. It conducts relevant professional exams, reviewing those standards from time to time, and establishes and maintains a register of members
True.
of the profession. So, can cases that people are alleging being shut out of the business, what's the way open for them?
If you truly, I mean, every trade and every business has those who practice properly,
Yes.
who register, who go through the exams, who get certified. You also have those who try to cut corners. You have quack doctors, pharmacists, lawyers. You've got them also within advertising. Ideally, if you want to practice, if you start from the very low level, there are certain courses you must offer either in the university or polytechnic. APCON clearly marks them out. Or if you're in marketing, we have concurrence registration between us and the National Institute of Marketing.
Yes.
And then you can go from a student member to associate member to full member to fellow and all of that. It's very simple, really. If you choose to make advertising your profession, everything you need to do is well spelled out, and if you follow through, you shouldn't have any problem about anyone shutting you out.
Can I be called an advertising practitioner if I didn't study in university but passed the APCON course?
Absolutely.
Okay, so how long would that take me?
It will depend on what level you are coming in. If you're coming in totally green, then you need to come in as a student member and sit for all the exams and be properly certified. Otherwise, if you were coming in as a graduate, you have some exemptions. If you've had the opportunity of studying things like CAM and some of these professional exams, there's other exemptions you will still get. I think it's so well organized. No one, ideally, who wants to do things properly should complain about being shut out.
All right, we'll take our first break now. Join us again after the break.
Who knows abi better thing? Abi who no like better thing? All these fine things wey dey see so. Na money government dey take do am now. Abi, as in, it's like, I mean, excuse me, I dey pay my tax. I dey do wetin? I dey pay my tax. Say you don't pay your own tax. Have you pay your tax?
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi, and on the hot seat today, Lolu Akinwunmi. He's the chairman of the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria. Now, APCON maintains a strong focus on its vision of promoting responsible and ethical advertising practice, acting as the conscience of society. When I saw that, it's saying matters of commercial communications, but we still see adverts, the type you talked about, that claim one answer to everything. What avenue is open to the viewer who sees that? Even if APCON hasn't taken any action, can members of the public do something to make sure that we don't see those sort of adverts?
Absolutely, and we've had tons and tons of responses in that respect. In actual fact, from even very, very senior people in government, people who see ads and they phone up APCON, or if it's someone who has the telephone numbers of APCON staff or council members. We get such calls and we investigate them. In actual fact, there was a campaign run by one of the telecoms companies that a very senior person in government saw, and she got in touch with the minister, who then got in touch with us, and we then had to explain all of the things behind it. So APCON also plays, that role of a watchdog as well. We work very hard to ensure that everything that goes out meets every standard. But sometimes, very, very rarely, people may feel not quite satisfied with something they've seen, either because they don't understand it, or maybe because they've seen a totally different angle from the way the ASP has seen it. And wherever we have had to make corrections in the past, we've had to do that.
You've talked about the Fifth Amendment, which of course means that it's been there. Yes, from the beginning. What new thing did that Fifth Amendment bring in?
Yeah, very good question. For the very first time, we brought in all the sectorial groups that make up, if you like, the advertising industry. We brought in the film producers, we brought in the radio commercial producers, we even brought in the owners of modeling agencies. We brought in everyone. We brought everyone in. And why did we do that? We found out that the scope had gotten up to a point where APCON also needed, if you like, to ensure a measure of protection for Nigerians in these industries. We'd had things like people bringing in foreign models, foreign production companies, foreign this or that. APCON is aware that while the same government encourages cross-country, cross-border trading and all that because of the various trade protocols that we have signed, the same government is also committed to protecting the welfare of its own people, such that the jobs that Nigerians can do should not be casually given out to foreigners. So we worked very hard on this, and we weren't doing anything new. Brazil had done this before in the past. I think Malaysia had done this in the past. Countries do this regularly when it's in their interest, and we've tried to do this without looking as if APCON was unnecessarily overprotecting or stopping foreigners from coming into Nigeria.
Okay, and did you see an improvement with that Fifth Amendment?
Well, the Fifth Amendment is about 6 months old, but clearly people are responding more positively. The full implementation has just commenced. We don't expect everything to be 100% smooth. We will learn as we go ahead, but definitely people know now that there are guidelines that where certain things should be done or certain things shouldn't be done. And what we've also done is to make sure we carry along ADVAN, which represents clients, AAAN, OAN, everyone. So everybody is aware, and it's not a short race. It's a long race, and over the next couple of months, I'm sure that we should all be able to look back and see that the advertising industry has been strengthened.
What would you say to those who say that the Fifth Code as a reform was targeted at shutting out foreign agencies because one such agency dumped its contract with Primer Garnet?
Well, I've been asked this question so many times. Number one, the Fifth Code had about 13 objectives. Only one of them had to do with foreign or local agencies. That's number one. Number two, foreign agencies have not been singled out specifically. There are two windows under which agencies can register in Nigeria. You can either register through the associations, or you can register directly with APCON. If you want to, they are called windows A and B. And so it's quite clear, if you want to own your foreign agency 100% in Nigeria, it's still possible. On the other hand, there's also a part of the regulation that says you can only own 25% of it. So it really depends on your choice. Just last year, I personally was instrumental to getting a foreign agency registered in this country. And if that was our objective, I wouldn't have done that. The agency has been registered. In fact, they have joined the AAAN and they are now a part of AAAN. Now, in response to the issue of challenges with foreign partners, I became the APCON chairman in 2010 and initiated the reforms immediately. The issues with our foreign partners didn't start until nearly a year and a half later. And so there is no correlation really. To say that at all is simply because people just want to be mischievous. There is nothing in the APCON law that makes it possible for an individual or for all of us collectively to shut out anyone. If it was so, this code was presented to the minister. He went through it. The Federal Ministry of Justice went through it before it was approved. And the minister presented it to the president. If there was any indication within the code that such a thing as people have alleged to take place, it would never have been approved.
Okay, now, obviously, it is the government that's made APCON a licensing body. If government has made APCON the one to license the adverts, why does anyone have to take it personally if APCON doesn't license, if APCON withholds that license?
Or does not grant the license? I've been involved with APCON for many years, even before I became chairman, and it's for reasons you will never believe. A brand owner may want to knock a competitor, and APCON says, no, you can't say that, or go and bring the proof for that claim, and they come back and say, oh, APCON doesn't like them. For 1,001 reasons, and generally the experience we found out is everywhere there is regulation, people would rather, if they can get away with it, they'd rather not comply. So it's really about that. Sometimes they think some of the things that APCON is asking them to bring is ridiculous. For example, someone claims as, oh, the best energy drink in the world. And we're saying, no problem. Show us the statistics. Was there a competition? Which body gave you that, or the largest selling this and that? Those are some of the things that we query. Otherwise, it would be unfair on your competitor to allow you to go ahead and say that.
So you can't just say anything.
Number one, there are certain things you can't say. Number two, there are certain things, if you are going to say them, especially as claims, they must be things that you can justify with proof.
Give us examples of things that you can't just say.
You cannot come and say that your analgesic also cures piles. Medically, it just isn't possible, and we have a good relationship with NAFDAC. You can't say that. It's medically impossible. Which really, I don't know if you have any plans to ask that, which is the issue we're dealing now with the tradomedical people.
Yes. I was going there because we still see Dr. Staphylococcus in the paper.
So many of them, all kinds, especially if you listen to the vernacular stations, you get to hear quite a lot of them.
Why are those kind of adverts still on?
One of the main reasons why that happened, and it's very interesting, is the people who produce them and basically put them under the pharmaceutical group. But all of them are local producers. Some of them operate without addresses. Even locating them is a problem. One, they're supposed to be registered by NAFDAC. After that, they're supposed to get the approval for their ads from us. So even NAFDAC cannot register all of them. There are too many. So what we have done, and this has even involved the Minister for Information, our Minister, and the Minister for Health. And between the two ministries, we're working together, even getting NBC involved. It's a difficult. difficult times because there are too many as far away as Zungeru, Remo, in places you can't even locate. But we're working on a major seminar, and the first task is to bring them all together, especially those who are under registered groups, and tell them that government has nothing against tradomedical medicine, but one, they must be registered with NAFDA because using them can affect people's lives. Number two, the claims you make must be verifiable. That is the proper thing to do. So you must register with NAFDAC, you must come to us, and if you don't, these are the repercussions. You have to do this regularly. We are holding a seminar hopefully sometime next month to jumpstart this. And I'm hopeful that by December we should have that industry completely under control.
Will APCON be going after the newspapers that publish such advertisements and TV stations and also?
It's an option, but we have found out that it's better to control the owners. If you are able to control them and get them to do what is right, then those things will not appear in the newspapers anymore. And that's what we have decided to do, working with NAFDAC, working with the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission.
The standards that APCON tries to maintain, is it the same standard for radio and for television?
Essentially, the job of APCON is to ensure that what is being said, the claims are right, they are accurate, they are not misleading, they are not derogatory. You are not saying, for example, that Igbo people hate Yoruba. All of the sensibilities. It's a whole booklet of guidelines, and it's reviewed periodically. So whether you are running your ad on radio or TV, it's not APCON's job, for example, if you are using Fela Anikulapo's Kuti or Dan Maraya Jos, that is not our own. There are some other responsibilities which may go through NBC, but ours is restricted to some of the things you've mentioned and some of the other ones I've mentioned as well.
And so when the advert gets approved, does the person get a certificate?
Oh yeah, you get a certificate that says you can run as approved, and there is also a condition on the certificate that says if you amend it, it voids the approval automatically.
You have to come back.
You've got to come back. It's a very serious offense actually, and at the very least you are likely to be fined for doing that.
By September 2013, you will no longer be chairman of APCON. Issue of the head of an advertising agency being the APCON chairman, it became a major issue as a result of the problems you had with your foreign partners. Are people wrong to assume anything from that possibly it is wrong for the head of a current and practicing agency to head APCON?
The allegation was made by those who wanted to be mischievous, really. I'm the 5th APCON chairman. The first APCON chairman is still alive, Mr. I.S. Moemeke. When government appointed him, he was the chief executive of Lintas. The second is also alive, Chief Olufa Lomo. He was chief executive of Forum Advertising. Third, Main Zeribe is unfortunately departed. Well, he also managed an agency. Chris Douje, who was there before me, had a very, and still runs a very strong consultancy. The law says that only the president can appoint the chairman of APCON. And the criteria is for you to be a fellow of APCON itself. That is what makes you eligible. Whether you are the MD of an agency or the MD of a media house or a lecturer in the university, it really doesn't make any difference at all. The APCON Council is not run like a one-man affair. It's a council where the representative of the Honorable Minister sits, where someone who represents the Ministry of Justice sits, eminent Nigerians. So when they say that, it's quite clear that they are simply calling a dog a bad name so they can hang it. They stopped saying it because they found out that everyone thought they were being ridiculous.
So decisions taken at APCON, not a decision on you as the chairman, it's a collective decision of
The best way you can understand the APCON Council is it's like a board of a company where we have representatives of AAAN, of ADVAN, of even the National Council of Women's Society, Nigerian Broadcasting Commission, the National University Commission. It's a diverse group. The records of our meetings are available because we're a parastatal. They are freely available for anyone to go and see. And absolutely. So when people talk the way they do, because they are being mischievous, we simply laugh at them. There is no way any government would allow any parastatal to run that way.
All right, we'll take a break now. Join us again after.
Planned for 30 years without developing it is perhaps the most compelling evidence of lack of need, and therefore it would be justified to revoke it even without security concerns.
Yeah.
We will clamp down and we will recover those properties and reallocate them or redeploy their use as may better serve the larger public interest.
60 Minutes with Angela. Getting answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
Welcome back. Now, this is the new Code of Advertising Practice, the Fifth Amendment, Sales Promotion and Other Rights Restrictions on Practice, the 5th edition. It's available from any APCON office or all over Nigeria. If you're a prospective advertiser, you need to have this code before you put your product out there to know what to do. Well, it's my concluding moments now with the chairman of the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, Lolu Akinwunmi. Now, APCON requires its new code for agencies to be members of sectorial associations as a precondition for registration and licensing. Is there no danger of too much regulation here?
That is not accurate. You have a choice. You don't have to be a member of any of the sectorial groups at all.
But it would help.
It probably would help in the sense that they would act as better guarantors than if you were to go alone. There will be a checklist of other things that APCON will be asking you. For example, because agencies handle large sums of money on behalf of clients, and in the past, unfortunately, very few in number have not been too faithful with such money. Now, if you're coming directly to APCON to be registered, you need to have some sort of financial guarantee through an insurance company and all of that. If you were to be a member of the AAAN, for example, or OAN, those would be waived because those associations would then be, given those guarantees on your behalf. So the issue of too much power doesn't come in at all. You have a choice: come through the sectorial groups or come directly to APCON.
The level of professionalism in advertising, the 70s, the 60s, we saw a lot of white people here. Now, most agencies are peopled by mostly Nigerians. With the indigenization decree, that also happened. Would you say that there's been a fall in the level of professionalism, bastardizing the industry?
It's not a question I can answer so directly because advertising came in from the UK in the 1928 through UAC, Linters, and for a long time, all of the advertising we knew and saw in Nigeria was managed by white creative directors. And like you said, until the indigenization decree came, and the first schedule said advertising had to be owned by Nigerians and stuff, which gave us the opportunity for indigenous agencies to evolve. And it's remained so. The one thing nobody can take away is nobody can communicate with Nigerians better than Nigerians on any medium. But because advertising is also technical and it's also a global practice, you need the technical support from those parts of the world where they have invested more resources in developing the crafts, and also it's a combination of both. A South African would never write a perfect pidgin commercial. I mean, we see some of the radio commercials that come from out of the country and you really just want to dive under the table. So it's got to be a combination of the two, complementary cooperation. The skills that are not yet here will probably come from those places and all that.
So would I be right to say then that the age of the big advertising agency is gone, like the Lintas you talked about? There were some major names that dominated the advertising sector. Is that time gone now with smaller agencies springing up?
Yes and no. Perhaps one of the things that will not allow you to maintain, in quotes, a big advertising agency is cost. The margins are shrinking. In some cases, the budgets are shrinking. It doesn't make any sense having so many people under one roof. Instead, you divide them up and make each unit a profit center instead, and you're still achieving the same purpose, a whole lot of consultancy where you don't need too many people. On the other hand, you still have huge agencies like Dentsu in Japan that has hundreds of thousands of staff. So it really depends on the opportunities that are available, the operating environment, and quite a few things.
And one of the questions I've always been dying to ask is, when we see adverts purportedly about Nigerian goods or services, and you just know that these models are not Nigerians, and sometimes they have an African accent, but the looks, but they're not Nigerian. And if we're saying the product is a Nigerian product, or we're promoting Nigerianness, why are we still using?
It's one of the things that APCON is trying to correct indirectly. Yes. You can't force a client to use or not use a model, but we can encourage them. For example, what Brazil did was, if anyone shot any commercial outside of Brazil, and if you wanted to air it in Brazil, I think you paid $28,000. So it meant...
Because you didn't have a Brazilian model?
Because you didn't even use, it wasn't produced in Brazil. So what it then meant was a lot of production started taking place in Brazil using Brazilian models, and it helped the industry to grow. APCON has not gone that far, but we have tried to encourage through other means, through the new regulation also, that where these people and facilities are available here, we will prefer that they be used. What's the point in bringing a Kenyan model? They look so different from us, they speak so differently. And it creates credibility problem on the brand that's supposed to be talking to its consumer. So all of this education we're trying to get involved with as well.
I know that the case of your foreign partner, Ogilvy, and you is still in court.
Yeah.
But would you like to say something about that?
Well, I'm not sure I can say more than what you have said, because the lawyers will tell you that going beyond that would be sub judice. Yes, the case is in court. And, well, it's everyone's hope that at some point the matters involved will be resolved.
And September 2013, when you leave, the new chairman, will he or she be the CEO of a current advertising agency as well, or has the government done away with that?
The whole issue of the last four, including myself, chairman being from advertising agencies, was not planned by government. The main criteria is for you to be a fellow of APCON. Now, how the last four and I have come from the advertising agency, I think it's quite easy to understand. The AAAN set up APCON. We worked with government to set up APCON. And if you check the APCON law, it's the only association that is mentioned in the APCON law. So government has been dealing with the same set of people who helped to bring the law into being. Having said that, if President Jonathan decides that the next APCON chairman is going to come from the university, he'll be acting totally within the purview of the law.
Okay, so do you maintain an office in APCON?
No, I don't. I don't have an office there. I go there if I have to attend board meetings there, but no, I don't have a room office there at all.
So who's responsible for the day-to-day running?
APCON under the law has a registrar who is also the chief executive, who is employed by the council, reports to the council, and is a staff of the council.
Unlike yourself,
Yeah.
who is not a staff of the council. So the council doesn't pay you, probably pays you a sitting allowance. When you
I
have
think
meetings.
with the kind of work that chairmen do, we should be paid. Unfortunately, the law is a non-salaried tenure.
Yes.
It's a non-salaried tenure. You are not a staff of the council, you are not on the payroll.
Okay. So non-salaried.
There is no salary.
How long is the tenure for?
It's for 3 years.
Okay, so
Yeah.
2010 to 2013.
Yeah.
APCON accredited the curriculum of advertising as a course in departments and of universities and polytechnics. Is that subject to review, and how often is that reviewed? Is it the universities or polytechnics that initiate that?
No,
or is it-
APCON initiates because that is what the law says. There's a set of guidelines for accreditation. So we write the schools, we let them know that our group, there is a committee within APCON that is armed with the criteria, and they go there, they check, they conduct all of these. The vice chancellor is aware, the heads of departments are aware. And if there is anything that is not quite there, we let them know. We write our report. We also give the necessary or deny the accreditation.
Okay. And so for those who are watching now who would like to be advertising practitioners, what is the next step for them to be able to attend APCON classes and probably get the diploma at the end of the training?
Well, again, it depends on at what level you are coming in. If you're already a mass comm or marketing graduate,
Yes.
you're already in the practice indirectly. If you're coming in afresh, it's a multidisciplinary profession. We have doctors, we have lawyers. Your best bet is to go to our website, or if you're close enough to an APCON office in any of the major cities, they'll speak with you, they'll give you the forms, they'll tell you how to become an advertising professional.
Okay.
There
so
should be about 10 or 11. We've just gotten approval to open 4 or 5 more yeah.
in other states.
in
around
other
the-
states of the nation. We're supposed to be in every state, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the target is 36
The
offices.
target is 36 and Abuja.
The offices are in Lagos, Abuja, Kano, Port Harcourt, Enugu, Kaduna, Owerri. Finally, as a watchdog for consumers, APCON manages the needs and interests of those who work in the advertising industry. Talking about remuneration, does APCON have a say in how advertising practitioners in the agencies are paid?
No, because each organization is a unit, it's a business unit with its business interests, business objectives and all. And we don't run APCON like a trade union, so you cannot set any bar. If any group is going to do that, it probably will be the various associations. APCON's job is to regulate the practice, not to get involved directly in what the various agencies do within their offices.
Okay. And does APCON frown on migration of staff between agencies? Is that an offense?
It's not part of our business, really. It's a free world. Staff are allowed to move as long as these things are done responsibly.
The professional diploma that people get from APCON, is that equivalent to a higher national diploma or a degree?
We don't want to use that kind of language, but we want to say that whatever you get from APCON entitles you to be able to work within the industry. And so the higher or more qualified you want to be will then depend on you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on.
much for the interview. Thank
for
you.
coming on 60
Yeah.
Minutes. Well, that's it for this week. Don't forget to like 60 Minutes with Angela on Facebook, Alternatively, you can follow me on Twitter, Angela at 60 Minutes. Join me, same time, same day, same station. You never know who I'll be spending 60 minutes with. I'm Angela Akinwunmi. I thank you for the pleasure of your company.